So is Bill going to join us?
I thought he was, but he's not here, so we have a quorum, so I said, go ahead.
Organized here.
She's really qualified.
Yeah. Look at that.
So I
You could
picked.
probably get him a room with him.
Who, Mike? I could.
I had 5, and I put 3 all over 3. So I had 8 candidates. Just like 4, she mentioned 45. So we all submitted our recommendations. And I had 4 out of 5.
Oh, yeah. Everybody agrees.
Somebody else picked. The ones they picked, I had.
Just sign this check on the bottom.
If you could, yeah, because right now we gotta get Jen added on to the check.
He didn't give any background.
Just sitting at home for it.
So I said, there's something wrong.
Mhm.
So I will let you know. He won't be a director. But the one that, well, one's a two, the one that had the most votes, votes the other.
Oh, that's good. Well, that's a good sign. Yeah.
Young lady.
However, if you see a little box come up on the top, that means somebody wants to get weather, because I keep forgetting to look over there.
How do you want to handle the second page for the local government conference? We should be covered.
That'll be, well, if you kind of know what it is now, you can fill it in. It's 14 miles from here, so if you know what.
I just added mine all.
I didn't-
You could just, because you're just going straight there and then going home. It doesn't really matter as long as your mileage is somehow captured on those 2 sheets,
Well,
not double
I'll fill
counted.
that one right now through.
But like Shannon and Leona and Tom, they're spending the night down
Right.
there, and so it could really go on in your, whatever you do.
That's what I did.
We got 2.
If she didn't like it, you can change it.
The second one's.
Split it up.
Letter paper.
Gotta keep those order in business.
You said 14.
Well, this is
14, 50
appropriate.
miles.
We've got a
14
section
from
on
here.
ice and snow, that's correct.
You learn about that tomorrow, front personal tomorrow. Okay, we'll call the meeting to order. Let's see, your email, it's been over a week now, before you sent it to us. There was a post agenda and also a minutes of our March 21st meeting. If there's any questions about our proposed agenda for today's meeting, let me know. If there's no questions, the motion to accept those. Proposed agenda.
I'll move to accept the agenda.
Is there a second?
I second.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
We did receive the minutes also for the March 21st meeting. Hopefully everyone had an opportunity to look at those. They look great to me. Any discussion on that? If not, do I have a motion to accept the March 21st meeting minutes?
I'll accept that.
Okay, second, all those in favor?
Are you taking the minutes?
Andy's,
Okay.
it was a project.
Hello.
Hi, Bruce, sir, you're gimping quite a bit.
You want me to explain why?
Be careful of the cord.
Watch out.
We don't want you to trip on the cord and make it all worse.
Don't worry.
There's coffee.
Would you like a cup of coffee?
This is decaf.
It is decaf. I'll bring you a cup.
Oh, boy, thank you.
You want anything in it?
And it's free.
All right.
Next to my old friend, Mike Harris.
And we did get started here, so we're at the eve of our local leadership conference here. Looks like we've got about 600 registrants. It sounds like with a little bit of luck, the weather holds. We may. Well, let's just hope that the weather holds. So we see the better part of those 600 people at the local leadership conference tomorrow. This is our 31st. Of course, as you know, we have a little bit different venue, so we're about a month later, but it's still snowing. Being at Turning Stone, we've got, looks like 28 great sessions. We got all day assessor training. Looks like we're all set at 11:30 for our keynote with our Center State CEO.
Yep.
And that's going to be in conjunction also with lunch at the same time.
Yep.
So that'll be great. And we've got to thank Guy for sponsoring our reception from 4 to 5. As always, I want to thank the staff. I want to thank Katie. I want to thank all the speakers in advance and presenters, for the contribution. This is really going to be a great event and our first being held with Jefferson Community College. So that this will be pretty good. Also, just a note on COVID. I'm noticing that Onondaga, Madison, and Oneida County is spiking again. So I'm just going to say, please, as much as possible, take advantage of, COVID practices, try to keep some distance, and I will be wearing a mask. If you have one, wear it. I think we do have some
We
masks
have
also. That
a
we can
number of
use.
masks at the, yep, we've got
So,
boxes of them.
Again, this is totally optional, but if you got a mask, nobody's going to be embarrassed if you wear it. So that's good. We have a new commission in ethics and lobbying and government, which program is going to replace our J code, and we'll probably know soon what that all means. I guess they're trying it out in real time right now with our government.
Was that a zinger? Because
Kind of.
so you're not for reappointment this year.
Also, financial disclosure statements are going to be due mid-May. We'll probably get an email you think on that here soon.
I think you already did.
Okay.
Should have gotten one on like
Unless
Friday.
you've already done it like I have, then you don't get it.
Oh, I wonder if it went to your old email address.
I think I might have changed. I'll check. I'll
Okay,
check.
I can check on my end too.
Okay. And the next item is that there's going to be changes in open meeting laws, and we're still trying to dissect it. And the best person who probably understands that is Kayla. If you want to reach out to her.
Well, I mean,
She basically was going to come up last week, spent the weekend with us, and of course, she was crying because the budget was just delayed and delayed and delayed. And then finally, when she got it, she had to do a 48-hour session trying to determine where all the money is. So she understands the budget thoroughly now. So you might want to reach out to her. She can probably tell you how that works.
well, and we also, one of our speakers tomorrow is Kristen O'Neill from the Committee on Open Government. So I'm assuming she'll be talking about it in her
Yeah.
session. So I'll try to sit in there, hear about it.
Good. We talked earlier in the year about whether to hold a May meeting or not to hold a May meeting. And it was like, I think it really was kind of left depending on what business that we had that needed to be covered. We've got quite a few things that we want to discuss about financials tonight or today. But it's entirely up to the board if we want to hold a meeting. If we do have a meeting, I think we're slated for turn.
I think we should do it in turn if we do have one. We have one up there as Roger had noted recently. So, but yeah, it's up to you.
But as I remember, we kind of left it very loose. If we needed a meeting, we would hold one. If not, so it's entirely any discussion on that. Do we need to have a meeting?
Maybe we need to decide that after we go through the budget issues today.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
Absolutely.
All right.
There's a deadline, and we get the rest of these motions. But they're-
We're gonna find out.
Yeah, well, Lee's gonna tell us, Lee's on there, but I'm not sure he's had time to, and so that could be at play, like, we're not ready obviously tonight,
Right.
but today to do a resolution about open meetings, so we might need to do that in May. Because when we meet in June, it will be past when we need to do something.
Why don't we schedule a meeting, then can it be canceled if we have to?
So that date would be May 16th, the third Monday
Won't be at 10 o'clock, right?
at 10 o'clock,
Yeah, I'll make that motion.
That's the third week in May.
third week of May.
I won't be. Fishing. We haven't been camping in 2 years, so.
We have a quorum.
Would we have a quorum? If everybody, if we only need 5, so Tom's good, Roger, would you be good for May 16th?
When is it?
May 16th?
I think I can make it.
Okay.
Technically, nothing changes virtually until
Until
June
June
8th.
8th. Yeah.
June 8th. So
Yeah,
let's go ahead and schedule what we said, and then if we need to cancel it, we'll cancel it.
okay.
And you're gonna reach out to Turner.
Do you need a motion for that? or did you do that?
Yeah, I think we should make a motion,
Then I
yeah.
made it.
Second.
I'll second.
All those in favor?
I'm okay on the 16th right now.
Okay.
I have a ship in on the 26th, 27th, and May 18th.
And I would offer the next week, but I'm actually on vacation the week of May 23rd and unavailable. So.
What is that word you just used?
I'm actually taking a real vacation. I'm not gonna even be available on email. I'm gonna be on a boat.
That's
That's
disgusting.
the best way.
You're taking a vacation.
Congratulations.
Not, there's nowhere to put a boat in Florida.
This is the 5th going on 6th year I've not had vacation.
Yeah.
My retirement.
I'd like to thank someone from Silver Beach for hosting.
Yeah.
So well, thank you, John.
You did great.
I cleaned up the place a little for you.
And if you have any hot tips on property I can buy right around this area, let me know, please. I'm looking for a retirement house.
In Silver Beach.
Possibly, that's where I'd like to be, not on, but close to the water.
You don't wanna go south then, you wanna stay up here?
My daughter's buying a house close, so
Oh,
I would buy a house close too. I'm retiring in 2 years.
good for you.
I'm amazed with the development over here, all these docks
There's,
in a marina, it's incredible.
not to take up time, but they're in front of my house, old time camp, and they bought it, it's really down there. They got in these park models. I looked at the places loaded with these park models, just these, like the retirement homes down in Florida, that's what they are, there's, must be 100 of them there. It's amazing.
Yeah, that's what I'm looking for.
Yeah.
Winter in, not Florida, I don't want to go where people die. I
Right.
want to go south, but
I'm going back up here.
we have dinners here all the time. I grew up basically from Paris, we spent summers here, so.
Immediately following the meeting also, as a board, let's sit, we'll talk with Katie. We did complete her appraisal, so we're gonna go through it with Katie before we move to Turning Stone.
And I do apologize making it, but I can't really tell you why, but everything that went wrong that day at our rain silo as we were slowly out.
The day of what,
Your.
Oh, my appraisal. Oh.
Yeah.
okay.
Zoom call.
Yeah, you wouldn't have wanted me on anybody's, you would not have wanted me on a call.
Because you're probably grumpy. I don't want you to be grumpy when you're doing my
No,
appraisal.
Actually, I was throwing things at engineers. I mean, large, heavy objects.
Oh, that's why you're limping today?
They were throwing back.
So no surprises with that. We'll kind of take some time immediately after in this room and we'll look at
I think we should do it as far.
Oh, yeah.
No, we're not.
Well, good.
it. Could be part 2. With that, I'll turn it over to Katie for the executive director's report.
Sure, thanks. We already discussed the remote meeting situation, so Communities are good to continue this remote method that we've been using through June 8th, and then these new open meetings law will take into effect. We'll do our best to put a tugboat times about that together for this week, because people will need to know that they have a process that they have to go through to continue doing that. And as I mentioned, Kristen O'Neill from the New York State Committee on Open Government is doing 2 sessions for us tomorrow, open meetings law and something else I thought, FOIL overview. So I'm sure she'll be addressing that in her sessions. Headwaters, I should have said this last time, but Headwaters was published and mailed and emailed, and I wanted to make sure you all had a physical copy. So there is one in your packets. I think turned out really well. It's always a struggle to get this together, but you know, we really have to do that. Again, that's statutorily required by March 30th that we have, this is our annual report, and it has to go out. So we've been very good about that in the last several years. Don't tell me if there's any errors, because you know, we look at that so many times, again, can't even see it anymore. The state's budget is now passed. It was a few days late, but there was a pay bill passed before the full budget was passed, so we didn't get messed up on paychecks or anything like that. That has happened in the far distant past. The commission was funded at the same levels as last year. Well, actually 50,000 less than last year, because they bumped us last year to address some one-time expenses. I haven't really dug deep into the budget because it's very overwhelming. There's so much in the budget. I will say that APUB was funded again at $1 million. That's one of the things that we pay attention to every year. That's the money that goes to the land trust to do the buffer program around Fort Drum. Others more in tune with the budget than I have. Lots of summaries out there. I'm hoping Association of Towns will put something out soon. I think there was a lot of money this year going around, so everybody kind of made out, if you will. Community recognition awards. Remember, we are doing that again this year, and the open period for nominations is right now. It's April 1st through June 1st. Last year, the Village of DeFerriet and the Martinsburg Historical Society were our awardees. So spread the word. We'd like to see some really good applications again this year. Hiring. We re-advertised for our open planner position. We got 3 resumes. But one of them was actually pretty good. We did a remote interview with, he's a graduating senior from Siena College. Very good interview. We were all very impressed with him, asked him back to come see us in person, come to the office, and he's going to do that after graduation. He's got a lot going on, a capstone, graduation. So probably the week of the commission meeting, probably May 17th or so, he's going to come up and do a tour, and we'll talk to him, and let's keep fingers
Is that the
crossed
plan? Okay.
for the planning position. Yeah. So he just very, very good to interview. Just a good feeling on the interview. Seems very thoughtful. He did an internship at DC. He's working right now for the city of Saratoga Springs in their planning department, so he's getting a little bit of hands-on in the city environment. And we made sure to emphasize this is a rural environment, you know, and it's a big place. It's not a planning department. It's a lot different. You have a lot more flexibility. You can get involved in a lot of different projects. You can learn GIS. He doesn't come with GIS skills, but I think we could train him up pretty fast, and I think he'd like that. So you're really finding that you have to sell yourself in this environment. Like, there's just not a lot of people looking for jobs, so you really have to try to make it look attractive. So let's
hope he doesn't get any more offers.
well, and that's the thing, you do hope, you know, we try to emphasize it's a state agency, you know, it's different. It's not a county planning department, nothing against county planning departments, but they have very specific things that they do. And we have a much broader.
You're telling me he is the planning department?
No, I didn't say that, but, so let's keep our fingers crossed that we get him. I think the advertisement is still out there, but just not getting the resumes. LGC, we already talked about that a little bit. We are not going to have the governor nor the secretary of state there, which, you know, would have been nice, I guess, to have somebody. It makes the day a lot easier, though, not to have them. It's a lot less stress, and logistics, let's say. We are having the DOS consultation center again. This is hoping everybody comes from Albany tomorrow. I know it's gonna be snowy, but some people were coming the night before. As far as our legislative delegation, Assemblyman Blankenbush is scheduled to be there along with his chief of staff, Brian Peck. Logan Eddy, who is with Senator Ritchie's staff, is supposed to be there. Mary Jo Richards from Stefanik's, Congresswoman Stefanik's staff is supposed to be there. So we didn't get a lot of our local, senators and assembly, but a little bit. You've got the handout of the sessions in your packet, and you can see where our numbers are at. So that 92/126, for example, on session 1, it's how many people are registered versus the capacity of the room. So you'll see not most of them, there's a lot of space in the room, and we were really shooting for that, to what Jan was saying about giving people areas to sit apart from each other. You'll find that the whole space down there is a lot bigger than JCC. Just, you know what I mean? It's just bigger, taller spaces. So I think that's a plus for us this year.
Can I ask a question about
Yeah.
your workload compared to JCC for you and the staff and setting it up there? Is it easier or is it a lot more difficult?
The stuff that's behind the scenes, that setting up the speakers and that is kind of the same, but as far as with the facility, every time we go there, it's, almost a 2-hour drive. So it's been a little, we've only been down there 3 times. And then today is a big effort because you're hauling all that stuff down there. So we had to rent 2 big vehicles, so we would have plenty of space to put all that. So I would say it's a little bit more because of just the logistics part. But then again, I think Turning Stone is handling things a little bit more of it's a professional
But
event
it's their
center,
business.
you know what I mean?
It
So
becomes a
it's a little bit easier dealing with them on that level because they do this all the time. So I guess maybe it'll be a wash, but ask me, like.
Ask you, you'll have a better idea tomorrow.
Yeah, so.
When you get back from vacation.
No, I'll tell, we're really anxious, so, we always do a survey. This year's survey, we'll have some paper copies at the registration table, but we're really wanting people to take it on their phones. We have a Google, link to a Google form, and we're really paying attention to them even more so than normal this year. What do people think of Turning Stone? Because we're gonna have a big decision to make next year. Do we stay down here, or do we go to JCC?
As Turning Stone, follow his questions, Turning Stone, usually they provide you people to assist you in the setup. Are they doing that?
Yep, to some extent. I'll know more when I talk to Jen and Felicia. They're there now, where the vendors can load in today. There's a separate contract. There's a contract with Turning Stone for the spaces and for the food. And then there's a separate contract with the AV provider. So there'll be people floating around to make sure all the presentations work and
Is that
troubleshoot.
in-house? Are you in-house people or?
No, it's a contractor that Turning Stone works with,
Okay,
but
but they're preferred.
their preferred contractor, yep. So, I think it's more, well, it's hard to say because, we haven't done the LGC in 3 years, and prices have went up.
Right.
So JCC wouldn't have been what it was in 2019 for us this year either, so who's to say? We're spending money on a lot more rooms, so that's gonna be an expense that we wouldn't normally have. So we'll see, the goal is always to break even. It's really not to make money here. And it's really, our flagship big event of the year. And it's the way we get so much training to all those people in one day. So we'll see.
It looks like most of the rooms are in the same area.
Yep, it's a lot more. I can pass this around. You're gonna get one of these tomorrow. What did I do with it? So this is the program for the day, and you're gonna get one in your packet, but on the back is the map. And all the rooms are like in one section, but some of them are on top. There's an escalator you have to go down to get to these ones, but they are all moved. Like there's not a lot of walking between buildings.
There you go.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I just didn't know where, I know this, Cypress is on top.
Yeah.
On that.
Yeah.
But you have that one big escalator.
There's a
and
big
there's
escalator,
also
yeah.
To the left, or right, if you're coming this way, there's elevators.
Right, and so it's a lot more accessible in terms of people with wheelchairs. There's, a good elevator, there's rapid walking. You don't have to go outside. Once you pull in the parking garage, you're gonna walk right to the building and you're in the building all day long. There's, if it was snowing where at JCC, you'd be trampling between buildings and
Or rain.
rain, whatever. Yeah. Make sure you go, so all the exhibits are gonna be in the big event center, which is kind of like the gymnasium at JCC, but like 3 times as big. We've significantly improved the commissions display this last year. We had a committee of staff work on it, and so make sure you take a look at it. There's some fun, more interactive things on the display. We're doing a little, what are we calling it? Vendor punch, I don't know, some little game to try to get attendees to go to all the vendors, to really encourage them to interact with the vendors, because that's a big part of what pays for the conference. And we had a little punch cards.
Yeah.
Passport, punch card, play, I don't know what it's called. There was some very clever name, somebody other than me came up with.
Great idea.
And we gave each of the vendors a hole punch. So people will go around and get their thing punched, and if you get at least half of the vendors to punch your card, you put it in a drawing at the end of the day. And there's 4 prizes. Each prize package has a $50 gift certificate and a bunch of Tug Hill swag. So, we're just trying to bump up the interaction with the vendors, doing new things.
That's a great idea.
So we'll see.
I've never heard of it before, but it's a great idea.
I'm
gonna-
it as a poker room.
I-
we were at the casino.
I'm gonna steal it for my convention at the Great Lakes Sports Association.
Well, that's good. The sincerest form of flattery is imitation or something like that. Is what I was saying.
Invitation.
Yeah.
Yeah, I hit 40, but I would have got 50 if 10 people didn't ask me what I wanted. It's a good idea.
So yeah, it should be fun tomorrow, but the weather is, we had many calls today. It's still on, it's still on, yes it is. We cannot cancel it and
Oh my God,
reschedule
we're
it.
from
Drop
Tug
it
Hill.
back.
I mean, snow is enough for us in July. I mean.
I know, people just get very worked up about snow anymore, it seems like, so.
Just use a snowmobile.
Minimum maintenance roads, I planned, we got people in the waiting room. That wasn't paying attention. Sorry, Gary.
Where from snow is going. I mean, I'm surprised there's snow in that area right now.
Jerry, you're muted. Sorry, I didn't see you were in the waiting room.
The water.
All right.
You're unmuted. Try talking.
Can you hear me now? Can you hear me?
Can't hear you.
She's on mute.
Give her sign language to say, hey, you come, you
Hold a piece of paper up, this way that way.
just point to your throat.
I think the sound's coming through should be coming through my.
No, she's still muted.
But she wasn't muted for a minute.
It is still muted. It's not red, I can see from here.
Yeah, but she was trying to talk for a minute with that on
Oh,
there.
now she's unmuted.
Try talking.
Can you hear me?
We still can't hear you.
It happens a lot with Zoom for some reason. We have that, I just have to restart again. I don't know what's the problem.
All right. Any suggestions? I like hit
I
on.
should just keep going. And Jerry, you might want to go out and come in again, so
Okay.
we can't hear you.
Okay. All right.
I'm gonna log in again,
Yeah, just go right out of Zoom and come back in.
Okay.
Yeah.
assuming you can hear us.
I think she can. Oh, she just left.
There you go.
Oh, now Tim says that he can hear her.
Something great. what you said.
Hey, Tim, can you unmute and try talking?
Is your speaker connected right here?
Well,
Yeah,
if
can you
it
hear
would be
me?
coming through one or the other. Tim, can you talk?
Can you hear me?
Yeah,
That's the
that Barney thinks that he's talking.
I like the way we're doing it today. No one's talking.
Hey,
No, I
Tim,
can
we
hear
can't
you.
hear you either.
I can hear you, but
I can't close out because I'll end the meeting if I do that.
Can you just do it on your, can you do it on your laptop?
Well, let me see. 1 second. I'm gonna try to log in on my phone.
Can you hear me now?
Oh, I heard audio there. somewhere.
Jerry, can you try talking?
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. Success. Thank you.
Jerry, can you try talking again?
Can you hear me now?
Yep. Yeah.
Okay.
Good.
All right.
Don't touch anything.
I won't. Good Lord, it's the last thing I want to do.
So minimum maintenance roads, now that the budget is done in Albany, I've already got a list of appointments I'm gonna try to make at the end of this week. To try to get some attention on that. So we'll see. I've got a list of assembly majority members from the state area that might be interested in hearing our concern. So that's what we'll try to do there.
Have you had any discussions with Tim Hunt on that?
Oh, yeah, we've talked.
What's any ideas?
His ideas have been to try to like rebrand it, to make it be like more of a green, environmental thing, which we do talk about the environmental benefits of it. But again, I don't think I think it's getting attention. We have to get Julie Barnes to give us her exact answers.
Right, okay.
So. And there was a nice article on the Utica OD last week. I think you have a copy of it, highlighting the issues with broadband region, and they included a screenshot of our broadband map zoomed in on Oregon and Oneida County, which is exactly why we put that map together, is to try to use it as information and get some attention and hopefully be part of the solution. So we continue to have conversations and calls with various people. Everybody's trying to figure out, what do you do? Wireless versus wire, all these different grant opportunities that are out there, but there's still the physical problems of getting the service to the homes. And that's what we're really trying to get around. And it's really an engineering thing. There's who pays for the engineering to be done and all that. So we'll see where it goes, but we continue to be on it. Just about every week we're doing something. We're trying to, what other avenues should we pursue? So that's broadband real quickly. And really we're mostly engaged in Mohawk Valley Economic Development. Jefferson and Lewis counties are primarily working with the Development Authority, which makes a lot of sense. They're really looking at wireless solutions, like in Worth or in parts of Lewis County. And we're a little bit unsure if that's really the way to go, because wireless isn't going to get you really great. I mean, it'll get you something, but it's not going to get you something really good. And what we're hearing out of the state's broadband program office is that if you get a wireless solution in place, it's going to like kind of put you at a disadvantage for going after future money that'll get you the wired, what you really want. So do you go with something that's kind of getting something, or do you wait and try to get the full you know what I mean? It's kind of it's complicated. It's very complicated, but we're trying. We're hitting our heads against it.
That family in Osceola, she said she's talked and talked and talked, and that she's on their list.
Yeah.
Verizon's list, but they will not go up her road. Go right by the end of the road. It's not a quarter of a mile. And the boy was at the library doing his work, whatever.
Very frustrating. Some upcoming Council of Government activities. The River Area Council of Government is holding an economic visioning summit next week on April 28th. It's going to be at Dock Street in Carthage, and that's Mickey's really taken the lead with that and invited both Lewis and Jefferson County Chambers of Commerce, economic development agencies, planning departments to come, kind of talk about what they're doing, invite business leaders, people to talk about that river area. So if anyone wants to come, it's from 9 to noon, I believe, and it's very informal. We'd love to see the commissioners there. We're planning to present during the community development section. Should be good. Hopefully there'll be some ideas generated out of that. Angie, the Cooperative Tug Council Spring Dinner is finally set from 19th at Steak. If anybody wants to come to that, there's not even invites out yet, but it'll be out soon. And Lewis County is going to be the center talking about roads and trails and what the county is thinking about in terms of securing some of the roads for trails. So not sure who the speaker exactly is going to be. Is it going to be Ryan Pache? Is it going to be Tim Hunt? Is it going to be, I don't know who else, but it should be an interesting conversation because roads are so critical to the town that they are actually very critical to trail systems. Therefore, I was just a couple weeks ago, I'd be curious for any of you that live on the hill, how you thought this front went.
How'd it go?
It was an interesting event.
There were a lot of wheelers. John found a YouTube video of a drone showing.
Yep.
And it was
Thousands.
Yeah, a lot of tickets up out of my town, out of my town, because there's no roads open. They went up the road with John Roads, a state truck trail, and another state goes through their, one of their areas, and which I don't allow any motor vehicles. And everybody knows it. You know what I'm saying? And,
Thought it was pretty interesting.
Yeah.
You know,
and I think they issued up one road in Redfield, 30, 40. But it's not a surprise, you know what I'm saying? It was, well, good doing stuff.
what I found was kind of interesting is that as much as they say they planned, I think there was a lack of planning because of what I saw was on Thursday and Friday I was working and I had a couple of state troopers stop and I talked with them, Parks Police, I talked with them. A DC officer, I stopped and talked to them. These guys were just kind of scouting things out. I saw somebody standing along the side of the road, so they just stopped and we had a conversation. And the general consensus I had was that the Parks Police and the DC were going to protect state property,
Yep.
truck trails.
Yep.
And the state police were going to protect state roads 177 and 26. And they basically said, we're going to leave the rest up to the sheriff because that's what they want.
Yeah.
And that was a disaster.
What was the rest? What type of property was the rest?
Town road, county and town roads,
Yeah.
which they basically, I guess the sheriff said, we'll take care of that. So, you know, in prior years, the DC would be out there and the Parks Police would be out there enforcing town roads. At least making a presence to slow things down a little bit. Didn't see them after they were there Thursday and Friday, but I guess the event changed. The biggest thing as a concern with the state was that, you know, you had all these people that basically, they appear in either Turn or in Burns Corners at the end of the day, and they're tired and dusty and worn out. And he says that's when things explode because they don't want to run the trails home. He says they're gonna go right down the state road, and he says that's when we're gonna make our presence. So as much as they said they planned, I didn't see a lot of planning. So, and then, and you gotta basically kind of control these kind of events. I'm not looking to get anybody arrested. You just need to slow things down, and without a presence, you're not gonna slow down.
Like when you get to, I was told there's close to 5,000 people up there.
7,000
7,000
registered and about 2,000 unregistered.
When you get that's a mass gathering, you gotta have a lot of people on staff to control it. And if it's not, it's gonna be a disaster. And a lot of these towns, as I read in the paper, had closed some roads, so they were kind of trying to get control of it. But at 7,000 people, let's say there's gotta be at least 3,000 machines.
Right.
Okay. And even if they take care on some of these town minimum maintenance roads, it's going to do a lot of good. You just can't help but damage them. Okay. So I think they should limit them. Sign up, you only get so many people so you can control it. But you can't control it if you.
I don't think they recognize that the resources that they're using for this event cost money.
Yeah.
We had, in the town of Montague, we had 2 ambulances that were parked all day, anticipating. So those, I'm sure they're volunteers, but that costs money to have people staged just in case there was a problem here. And I just don't think they recognize that the resources it takes to put one of these events on. And ultimately, the club is going to be the benefit of all of the gains. And there should be more reciprocity. There should be more distribution of those gains to, number one, the towns. Number 2, police departments and all of the fire departments that were on standby, because there's a lot of people that were being paid to just try and maintain some order. And I think, and the bigger this thing gets, and it will be getting bigger, I think they need to realize that these resources cost money, so they need to rethink this process here. And it'd also be nice for them to make some contributions to some of the benevolent societies in Lewis County and Oswego County, but write a check. So we'll see as it gets bigger.
Well, Surrey County, a number of years ago, we set up mass gathering. That was classified mass gathering, and the county health department or controlled it. And you had to have a lot of things, and you also had to put a bond in place to operate. But you have something like that, you're not going to control it.
Yeah. And the garbage. Natalie and I spent, we did 2 roads. We did Liberty and we did Factory Road. It took pretty much the next day, which we started to snow. We did the next day and picked up a lot of garbage, and we dropped it off. But people just, the majority of those people, I'm assuming they understand what you bring in, you take out. But there's always some people that are going to just drop their beer cans on the side of the road, and we picked them up. So.
Well, I would encourage anyone who wants to come, let us know. We'll pay for your registration, and there'll be a conversation with the
Yeah.
Where's that?
state member officer
For the,
for CPC.
Okay.
We've got a really good CCC, the Civilian Conservation Corps, training event on May 21st. That's going to be down in Utica at the United County History Center that we've been partnering with them for a bit. It's gonna be fun. So think about signing up for that, and then also the Black River Watershed Conference, which you have a little save the date postcard in your handout. June 8th. That's going to be at Three Willows Center, so another new place in Lions Falls, behind Boondocks, and I think it costs $30, and we've got a good lineup of speakers there as well. So if you'd like to come, let us know on that one too. That's all I have from Executive Director.
Good. Thanks, Katie. John? Got a Northern Ireland Council Government report?
As long as you're here, I guess I'll say something.
Yeah. Thanks for letting us use some of your chair.
Thanks for cleaning up for us.
I do it, yeah. We got this. The big thing to note, guys, we got a new executive director. Tom, he's the new supervising town reps.
He showed some interest and we talked him into being on our board, so now we have a full board again, which is always good. Tom is, he's got experience. He was mayor of the fire captain from Griffith and Fort Drum. But all around the guy, and I think he's going to be good. I'm not sure if I mentioned the last time, but the local government education committee was what Jerry Ritter was part of, and NOCOG was a big part of since inception, has decided to dissolve. Is that dissolved in December? It actually came to fruition in February, just because the volunteers were busy, ready to retire, basically, what it was. Steve Smith, who was from Mohawk Valley Economic Development, was also on the committee, and the discussion was to have Mohawk Valley Economic District take on the local government education committee as a subcommittee, which they did. So now we had a couple of meetings, and there's quite a few volunteers of committee members. So I think it's in a good place. It's going to continue to do pretty good things. Well, I think it's a good thing. I think it's alive and well. Basically it's kind of on its way out, now it's back. A big thing that NOCOG I'm working on is succession planning and transfer of knowledge. I've been working with Jen Harlow from the Public Commission. It kind of came up when the town of Lee town clerk suddenly passed away, and she had so much knowledge because she'd been in position for so long, and she had a lot of stuff at home that it put the town of Lee into a pretty difficult spot. They didn't have passwords, they didn't have keys to file cabinets, and so trying to learn from that and trying to get other towns and organizations ready for the possible unexpected loss of key personnel, or if there's an election that's contested and there's hard feelings for outgoing supervisors and helping things like that to help ease that transition. So I think it's going to be a good thing. The COGs are working together to get some information out to the communities, and then hopefully we'll have a webinar and maybe even at the next local government council. Chris Dodson from the Department of State, who's kind of spearheading some of this as well. Katie mentioned broadband. NOCOG is pretty active with that. There was a webinar meeting just this past Wednesday with an engineer who brought up a couple of different examples. One was Livingston County, right? They spent $22 million, and now, from what the engineer was saying, the entire county should have broadband access. I found it kind of interesting because Andy Vicente, the United County executive, mentioned in the State of the County address that he's going to earmark $20 million for United County for broadband infrastructure. So that is a pretty good chunk of change. So we'll see what happens with that. Our website, we're working on our website, should be up and running soon. The executive board is researching a drone purchase. We had the county came showed us the drones, what they can do, and then I think Jane were there at the dinner meeting for the demonstration. They're hoping to purchase a drone to help some of the communities from the county can't do it, or help with their GPS program. So it's still in the early stages. We're going to, I think, one of our associate sort of writers, Joe Rollins, is getting his pilot license, and we're going to kind of go on from there and see what happens. But I think it's going to be
Maybe your brother can help.
And maybe my brother can help. But the thing is, it's actually the investment for the guy is minimal. He's not,
give me a call when you can. I know you're probably really busy. I'm down to the hospital and stuff.
Ben Simmons, who is the planning board president for the town of Sioux Bend, and also the president of the Association of Towns, United County. I was at the town of Sioux Bend meeting last week, and Ben had mentioned to his town board about a meeting that he attended as president of the Association of Towns, sponsored by Mohawk Valley Edge, discussing the improvements at the old Griffiths Air Force Base at the County Park. I guess they have 250 shovel-ready acres that a global company is considering or looking at purchasing. And along those lines, the speaker that was talking about this, saying that with the developments in Griffiths and with the developments at the Dam Center, Wolf Speed, and with the development of the hospital, you're going to get a lot of people coming to the area and a lot of sub-companies that follow this type of technology. And there's, on the other end, there's developers that are buying up a lot of property in some of the smaller communities with the idea of development. So her advice to the Association of Towns was make sure all your towns have their subdivision regulations and their, everything in order before these larger companies come in and kind of take advantage. So it's just something that he wanted to get out to his town, but I think it's something that now no county needs to get out, to at least northern counties, make sure they have a lot of their zoning regulations and things like that in order. But it's kind of something that I never really thought that much about because they're doing a nice job for this. They brought a lot of and I think it will trickle up to more than that. So that's really it for me. But
I saw Pizzetti had a little piece on the news too. He was concerned that he might be losing the Nano Center as part of Sony Technology. I didn't
that was
Something in the budget, I think, that they were talking about.
I didn't quite understand that because he was kind of vague when he.
There kind of was a standalone SUNY right now. I think they were talking about pulling it back into SUNY Albany or something like that.
they were thinking about taking it to Albany, if I'm not mistaken. But then there was a push to keep it, right? And as far as I know, I thought the county was going to put money up for it. Is that what?
I'm not sure where that all fell.
I'm not.
It was
My daughter
confusing.
works there.
Okay.
She's the benefit administrator. No, they were gonna unsplit it. Yeah, it's always gonna stay here because that's the campus, students, professors,
But they were gonna suck it, the administration part back?
administration only.
Yeah.
But I think what's happening now is they're probably gonna leave it as it is, take administration from there down to here. So that hasn't been decided yet, but you're never gonna lose Utica Polytechnic. It was gonna come back as Utica Polytechnic because you can't suck up a few floors in Albany. How many thousand students and a gym and all the other stuff? I mean, that's the moneymaker right there.
Well, it looked like if you're going to Albany on the right-hand side, before you get to University of Albany, they have a nano center there. And I think that's more just research and development, but they have college, engineering students from both Utica and from Albany that kind of work in that environment there. So I just didn't understand, but that's good. They're not going to lose.
All that is remember what, 7-8 years ago, Governor Cuomo started that push to create this tech thing.
Tech center, yeah.
That's what that happened.
Okay.
And then they didn't have it. I mean, all your tech was Utica Polytech. So they sucked off some of that up there to make it look good. And Utica's always been, I mean, that Utica is one of the best.
That college got a great
engineering.
reputation.
They have nursing programs,
Yeah.
but their engineers are world renowned. I mean, there's, other countries come and put their engineers here and they pay more money to send it here than like a state resident. So it's a moneymaker. I mean, it's like, SUNY Oswego, my alumni. I mean, the STEM, I mean, you're getting these foreign students come in and they pay almost a private college rate to be there. So, yeah. Yeah, because I was worried about that too.
Yeah, that's good to know, because I wasn't sure, like, the article was actually a little confusing on how they were.
Yeah.
I've been the first one yelling and screaming to my poor daughter.
There's actually a lot of good things that are happening in Utica right now. I was on Sunday, I went to dinner in Utica and we just decided to drive around the new hospital. I'm amazed what they tore down in urban development to put that hospital up.
It's from what it was, and I know any improvement, any development is always a good thing.
Oh, come on, there's some great bars there, Benji's,
In general.
Mary's, nightlife.
Just improvements on the road and everything, it's beautiful, they're doing a great job in there.
Yeah.
And there's the new, well, they're gonna build a beer museum down there, I guess.
On the west end.
I think so, yeah. then, there's the Irish music store, you haven't been there, they have like a whiskey bar, I haven't been there.
I've been to the room, the Utica Polish Home. It's in the west side.
You're down 2 notches in my eye. Because you haven't been.
I'll make a note, I better go to the whiskey
Any
bar.
good Irishman or any good Scotchman always will go to a whiskey bar.
But yeah, it's nice to see some of that, the improvements in Rome, and it always does kind of trickle back to our communities.
That hospital, from what I can see, it's gonna be it'll be a trauma center too. So basically, if there's a car accident somewhere between, say, Amsterdam, they kind of tossed it up and say, where does the mass flight go? Does it go to Albany or does it go to Syracuse? Now they're gonna have a third option right there, which is great.
Closer.
Yeah, especially in Northern United County, it's gonna be great.
Yeah,
For you
you go
guys.
and Utica Polytech, that's a huge contributor to the local economy.
Sure is.
It really is. It really
I
is.
mean, the people that work there, number one, what they buy, I mean, and that'd be like, any administration that would try to take, that's like,
Yeah.
taking a swig of state out of a swig, oh, come on. I mean,
Thank you, Matt.
What that-
Thank you. Thank you, John. You want to get into the meat and potatoes of the finance report? We've got some things to talk about here.
Sure, well, you've got the financial statement for, April 14th from the 21-22 fiscal year. Not quite a final, still have, end of year processing to do, but it's pretty close. You'll see, where our salaries ended up, nothing concerning here. Just kind of standard operating expenses. But I think what we want to do is spend a little bit more time on the proposed 22-23 budget. I'll walk through this a little bit. So you'll see our general fund appropriation at the $1,097,000, special revenue appropriation of $50,000 for the total $1.147. We calculated, so the salary expense is a calculation based on all eligible staff getting steps and longevity payments. A mid-year planner hire, we're guessing.
what percentage, but did you calculate in, okay, I'm just, I'm private, sort of, was there across the board?
We're guessing there's gonna be a 2% for the MCs.
Now, you're not, your management confidential,
all
you're not,
MCs.
you're right.
And there's no pay bill, there's nothing confirmed for MCs yet, but we typically
Okay.
follow PEF and CSEA, so
Okay.
I've calculated a 2% in
Okay.
here, assuming. So that's.
That's what I was asking,
Yeah.
because, to be honest with you, we went way higher than that. Cost of it.
With your
Well, I'm
employees,
not,
you're not,
I'm not under the state,
right,
that's why I was able to put it out, but
yeah, I'm assuming just the 2%. I don't think it'll be higher than that.
I probably not, I don't know.
I've never seen it be higher than 2, maybe. I don't know. But that's best guess. So steps on longevity of planners sometime mid-year and 2% cost of living gets us to that $981,000.
But they are getting the steps in longevity.
Those are confirmed.
And what are the, I'm asking these questions, first time I'm in the budget here. What are the longevity? Is it 5, 10?
That is for any staff member a grade 15 or below. That's been at job rate for over 10 years. And we have one.
So there's not like a
who
5,
receives
10,
that.
15?
No, there's not. It is at this point in time, it's a $3,000 lump sum that does not get added to the base.
No base there.
Um,
Is that what we follow in the state?
That's all
MCs?
following the state practice. Go over governor's office, the MC handbook, and yep.
I just apologize, because
No,
this is just,
I
like, I
apologize.
get into the nitty gritties of employee wages, because I've had to spend a lot of money to keep employees this year.
well, and it is, and I think that's partly maybe why we've been having hard to fill the planner position, because salaries and things are going high.
You're competing against engineering firms right now.
Yeah,
And our, I'll
Yep.
tell you that right now.
and they have a lot more latitude to increase for that leaves us with 165,000 in non-personal services, which we've, budgeted on different lines. But just before we get into the nitty gritty of that, at the bottom, unallocated NPS, so we've left $25,000 unallocated. So it's what we use during the year to reallocate where we need online. We've allocated just shy of $140,000 in non-services. So as you walk through this, accounting line, I'm proposing that we do layers contract and budget another $5,000 per layer. A lot of this other stuff is kind of standard. The attorney line, Jen and I spoke and proposing to increase Lee back up to the $4,500 that we had paid him in the past. He had reduced that rate at one point in time, partly I think to help us with budget issues, and partly we were paying for some of his CLE, his legal education. I don't think really that's kosher. I think that should be his retainer. It should
Right.
just be the $4,500 for his retainer. And I've been using him a lot. I almost maxed out my $3,500 this year, but that's what he's there for. And it's really nice to have him there. The cloud computing, what was that? It's very important. And we had a lot of things. Cloud computing, that's, everything's went to the cloud. So we've got Office 365, Adobe, Zoom, Spectrum is our internet. AWS is Amazon Web Services that gives us some of our GIS data, GIS cloud. So that has went up a little bit. So we've got that up to 16. Our IT line went up because we have a new IT provider that went up quite a bit for us, but I feel really confident to have a little bit more hefty IT support in the world that we live in. What else do I want to, also, when you go down to printing, that line is increased. If you will recall, you approved $10,000 in supporting new reprint of the rough guide. That did not happen last fiscal year. We were able to put a 25% down payment on it, if you will. We're allowed to do that with the controller. We can't pay for the rest of it, so we're receiving good. With the paper shortage, they couldn't get it printed. So it's probably going to be printed in May. So we have a $7,500 outstanding commitment on that. And then the rest is headwaters, annual meeting invites, other things we might print during the year. The research and analysis line, I sent you the email last week about supporting the Black River Cultural Resources Survey with Tim Abel. That grant application went in on Friday. Grant asked and we would be the $4,000 match. So I'll see in favor of that. So we did put a letter of support into that effect. And then so that leaves another $6,000 in that research and analysis line that I would welcome ideas on. I've really enjoyed being able to do some different things the last few years. Engaging Mark Schaffner with some of the assistance on minimum maintenance roads and planning work, doing some of the impact study. That's the kind of stuff we've been doing with that, and I think it's beneficial. So we've got more room to do something else there. Other than that, most everything is the same, and then I will point you to category 56 equipment. We've added a vehicle purchase line, and I put $30,000 there. We have a RAV4 that's 2011 with 111 or so thousand miles on it. We are facing about a $2,000 repair bill before past inspection in the fall. We know it's coming. It's just tired. The brakes constantly need to be replaced. It's just I would really like to replace it. And
Have you looked at state bid what's on for hybrid?
I haven't gotten into the details of it yet. There's no dealers in the North Country on state bid. It's very annoying.
How about Utica? Or it's not Utica, Albany.
Well, there's Albany and there's Ithaca, and I've looked at the hybrids because the state wants you to go to electric cars. Well, we can't do electric where we are. So I'm like, okay, let's try to do a hybrid. Because that at least is making a step in that direction. And there's 2 hybrid SUVs out there with Toyota RAV4 and the Honda CRV. And so there's a Honda dealer and a Toyota dealer both in Ithaca. I thought that might be.
I'm asking these questions because
Yeah, so we haven't went through this new marketplace that OGS has in a while, so we'll see. I guess the question is.
could you give me when you're done?
I'll give you all.
Yeah, because I mean, I'm my authority. Well, yeah, me, I'm looking to,
To do some replacements.
yeah, buy new.
So my question would be, do you guys want to buy or do you want to lease?
We got a hand deal rate, what?
Yeah, but they're not, they've got to be on state
Yeah,
contract.
it's very, they bid, state bid, will
Yeah.
bid certain
Oh,
dealerships.
Okay.
And there's a list of them.
And then you gotta get them built, because you've gotta like early, you would need to do this.
That's why I want to do it now,
Yeah.
because we're in April, and it
Yeah.
might take me to December to get this done, frankly. But so in the past.
Well, our history is that we've had this vehicle for what, 11 years?
Yeah,
But 30,000 is not buying a hybrid.
it might not, I was just guessing at that number, because can't get into, but remember, we're on state contract, so you'd be
contract, it will.
surprised that the prices are quite good, and you won't be able to be taxed.
I would highly recommend you buying
Yes,
opposed to leasing.
yes.
But if you can't buy, is there room that we could bump more in it?
Well, we got 25,000 unallocated, so we can put more on that line if we
Yes,
need to.
I mean,
I mean, if you
just
want me to put more
personally,
on it now, I can.
yeah,
You haven't
personally,
approved it yet.
yeah, personally, we buy
Yeah.
at the authority for one because we turn it down to another person. I mean, my security's running on my old vehicle, so I mean, it's just cheaper to buy.
I'm fine with buying. We leased for a long time here, and then we got caught when OGS did not have a contract, and we got stuck with these lease vehicles, and we were so over mileage, and we ended up paying these huge over mileage fees. I prefer to buy too, but I wanted to ask you.
I would definitely agree with purchase.
Yeah, our history is that we
You need a
run
resolution for
something
that?
out.
I just want you to all like approve the budget with all these things, and I think that'll cover.
They'll cover it, okay.
That's what I was thinking.
Seeing that we've had this discussion, it'll be in minutes, right? That we all kind of,
You need a motion?
Do you want me to leave it at 30?
I personally would like to have it bumped up to 45.
I don't think you can buy one.
Then you don't have to spend 45.
You want me to put that?
We've got room.
So I can do that. I put 45.
I think the goal is we need to replace that vehicle,
Yeah.
and we need to purchase it. There's no advantage to leasing,
If you
especially
would make a
in the
better
city.
statement, it's at 39.4. I mean, what are you gonna do? I mean,
Yeah.
you do have spending. I don't know what your spending is.
The other thing I would
Your-
suggest when you're checking,
My
especially.
limit spending?
well, if you guys approve me, I'm good, but yeah, there is in the, I have to look at the numbers. I don't know what it is.
Because I have spending limits and I have to go to the board.
Well, I think
That's
what we
right, I'm going to the board right now.
let's do this. Let's take one item at a time, okay? Okay,
Yeah.
so right now what's on the table is replacing the ramp. I agree 100%, $45,000.
I'll make a motion to do it to $45,000.
Yeah, and don't be concerned. The biggest thing is that you can buy it from on state bid. It can be Albany, it can be Ithaca, but you can get local service. Not a big
Oh,
issue.
yeah.
Yeah, and it was a purchase.
Yeah.
40.
So we have a second.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. I want to just run right into a Petrie's contract.
To get those.
I'm really shocked that we've only paid him $875. I thought that thing would take off.
There is an outstanding bill. I think he has a bill this for the final bill, but
Yeah.
it was slow going at first, and I think people now are starting to want to buy.
Are you saying, I would think that Cooperative Tug Council would go wild on this. Oh, good,
I
okay.
think we'll tap it. I think this year we'll use it.
What a plus. to have for the town.
Well, he's also a presenter here.
Oh, yeah.
I think definitely that we should extend his contract. Let's not piss off a New York State retiree, shall we? Do I have a motion to accept an extension of $5,000 for Petrie?
I make the motion.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. We talked about the Black River Cultural Resource Survey. I think, did you get enough?
I like
Eyes for-
formal, but a formal would be good.
Yeah.
And we wanted to do $4,000, and that was going to go to Tim Abel.
Yeah, it'll be through the town allow bill.
And he's basically going to be the consultant. He's going to do the grant work.
I'll make that motion.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you, Jerry. We heard you.
Good. I've gotten like 3 phone calls. It's during the meeting.
Vote on,
And let's go to Lee. You know, one of the things is in my time, we basically took the stipends from $4,500 down to $3,500. I can't remember why, but maybe that we weren't using a lot, but, you know, and really doing it, kind of analyzing the amount of time that Lee has spent over the last 12 months working for the commission. And I'm saying it's pretty much free gratis when he sits in on our meetings. He doesn't charge us for any of that.
Right.
But it looks like he gave, you know, we itemized about 54 hours that he is working on, anything from broadband, minimum maintenance road, whatever you elect that we need to work him on. And to be honest with you, he's not even making $100 an hour. So I really think that the time is suited to bump it up to $4,500, if Lee's okay with that.
We spoke and he felt comfortable with that and he wanted to stay on and I think he felt like he had time. Yeah.
Well, he's on mute, so I'll make that motion.
All those in favor?
Second.
Aye.
Second.
Good, thanks.
A
Anything
lawyer
else?
who's on mute is worth it.
I think those were the only specific items, so I think just an overall like approval of the budget would be.
I'll make that motion. I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thanks. Okay.
This is easier than my budget.
It's amazing.
The
when you-
numbers are bigger on my budget.
Yeah, it's
by a
amazing,
lot.
it's amazing we got money left over too. All right, public comment. Anybody from Silver Beach that would like to talk?
We'll say no.
It's a pretty good judgment.
In a year and a half, finding a
Nice house, nice little cottage on the lake.
I don't want to be right near the lake because there's too many things going on. I'd like to be a little bit away. Just stuff where I can walk down and have supper.
What is that? Is it Route 9 that takes you on the north side of it? There's one side, so Silver Beach is here, there's a nice road that takes you up to, there's a Bridgeport, right?
49.
That's on the other side.
That's on the north side.
So we want the south side.
Is it 46?
I don't know if that's 46 now, but there's some nice places up there. You get out of the Silver Beach congestion.
Yeah.
Right on the lake.
You're not talking about 31.
I'm not sure. I'm not sure that the road-
31's on the south
And my
side.
price list is kind of open, but depending on the next 2 years, my investment.
And
I could go high shelf or I go medium shelf.
we're gonna still sell real estate, but.
Okay, you got something to do. You got to find him a home.
Whiskey bar and-
I can find a damn whiskey bar myself.
Any members, any comments, questions, anything you wants to discuss?
I have a question for John.
Uh-oh.
I have a question for John. I was wondering who they hired in Holland Patton to replace the clerk and the treasurer. It was a husband and wife team that had been there for eons.
Ed and Virginia, been there, I think, 70 some odd years.
Oh.
Wow. The two of them. Her name is Lynn, and I can't remember her last name, but she seems to be, she's not like young, but she's definitely gonna bring them into the digital age.
That's good.
Her minutes and everything were still, everything was all handwritten. Ed did ledgers all by hand. Aaron, and I think she'll do good. Another call.
Yep. Anybody else?
I just have one thing.
Yeah.
Finally, the CTHC has hired another associate circuit rider. So I'm very excited about that because I had 8 board meetings last week. So I'm very excited. Our new lady's name is Kelly Martin. She's semi-retired. She's currently teaching class at Utica at one of the colleges, but I think she's done after this semester. And she lives in Watson.
Oh, great.
So both her and Beth are on the same side of the hill. So we had to do a little shuffling, but we finally have a new associate circuit rider.
What
Very
towns,
exciting.
what towns, Andrew, they take care of?
So we shifted, she's gonna cover the Village of Lions Falls, the Village of Fort Lyden, Martinsburg, West Turin, Peking, Montague. That's and Harrisburg. And we had to shuffle Beth around the hill a little bit. I didn't want to put the new lady in any place that's got a lot of stuff going on, you know, being brand new or a lot of contentious people. So I did a little shifting and shuffling in the schedule, so that's gonna be taken, like Adams and a few of them coming this way, Rodman, I'm taking more. So we did a little shuffle, we finally got a new associate, so.
Congratulations. Anything else? Anybody?
Not my friend.
Okay.
Don't be pointing at me with a loaded fingernail.
All right, looks like we may be meeting May 16th, we may not, turn, and definitely we will be meeting on June 20th in Adams. So after we meet with Katie here, everybody, Jerry, if you want, it would be probably the best thing to do is just have her call your cell.
Okay.
We can, so Jerry, if you want to disconnect, you just call Katie's cell and we'll sit through it and we can do her appraisal, okay?
Call her cell?
Yeah, do you have the number?
Or I can call you.
Okay, why don't you call me?
Good.
Okay.
And with that, we're gonna be, right after that, we'll be going to Turning Stone and we'll check in for those that are checking in, and then we'll be meeting at around 6 o'clock at the Pino Bianco for our speakers commission. Good. Thank you. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Close enough. All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Are we all set to check in, or do we need to check in as a group?
No, you can check in individually.
I know you folks weren't part of the thing. Why don't you sit through?
What is it?
We're gonna do Katie's appraisal.
Okay.
Oh.
I didn't know if we had this, since we were part of the committee.
No.
Hold this pen, I'm returning.
Thank you.
As soon as I get. The guard is down.